my background is not in event producing. But let's talk about the reality of marketing solutions today. There's a very well-known super graphic you've seen. It's frequent. I saw a video recently of an ad tech conference and they were talking about this super graphic. It's released from the past few years, since August 2011, by a company called Chief Martech. It's just a kind of an overview snapshot of all the different solutions in the marketplace under different categories under the umbrella of digital marketing. You've got when it started in August 2011. Now you'll find it hard to see at this point, and this was 4 years ago. At the time, there was about 250 companies listed in different categories. There's at least a handful of brands in each. Some of the categories: marketing automation, video content, personalization, social media, the gamut of different categories there. In 2012, this is how the map changed when they released it again. It had grown from 250 companies to 350 companies. And there was 45 different categories. January 2014, look what's happening with it. Now I'm up close, this is a projector screen, and you've got about 30 different companies, and these are all significant companies. I see Oracle, I see Adobe, of course see the tentpole brands, Google and Yahoo, and capitalising or dominating the different spaces. But what happened? I mean, it just jumped from this in 1 year. It went up to 947 companies. It almost tripled in 1 year. And this year, you think this is bad? Look what happened when it was released in January 2011. It doubled again. Just over 1,900 brands were represented in the super graphic. Now, there's two perspectives here. I mean, if you're a marketer, how do you feel when you look at this super graphic? You think, wow, this is, you're spoiled for choice. You've got too much. You may have limited marketing budgets, you can make a decision, you might drill down into your field, and you've got some leading vendors, well mature, that you can select from. It comes from, which do I select amongst all these choices? A lot of them are the freemium models. I can try them all, do a 1 month free trial, and find the one I'm comfortable with and start adopting and using that solution. But if you're a vendor, how do you feel when you look at this infographic? I know myself, I don't think, oh wow, look at this, look at all these successful companies. They found an opportunity in the marketplace. There's a lot of room here to grow and in digital marketing. I don't feel that way at all. I think, oh my goodness, what's going on here? This is crazy. How can I compete against all of these companies? The market is overly saturated. I remember in 2004 when I set up a dropship export merchandise system. I was using eBay, pushing big lots. And at the time, there was less suppliers. And there was demand, there was a bit of margin in the product you were selling. But as 2005, 2006, Amazon became popular, there became too many suppliers and the demand didn't offset that. And lowest price wins online. And ultimately, the only one that's making any revenue on the likes of marketplaces such as eBay is the processing provider, that would be PayPal, the mailing service that's sending the package. But the actual person selling the product, they don't do it there. And I find kind of parallels when I look at these marketing technology solutions that, to double and triple year on year, I don't believe that the demand is growing that incrementally as well. But the reality though is that was just the tip of the iceberg. You see, the media portrays a certain perspective about companies in the space, and we learn and we become aware of these companies. But the reality is, online, there'll be a few sites that lead in the space, but all the other sites are left in the long tail. All the stories, all the entrepreneurs, all the founders there, all have different backgrounds, they're personal, invested, bootstrapped, their funding sources that we never learn about because it's just the top tier ones that break through and crush the others. So while there may be 2,000 or so companies on this infographic, there's tens of thousands of products out there we don't know anything about. When every day thousands of websites are released, thousands of apps are onto the market, and they're all trying to break into large companies of different sizes. So I'll now explain briefly my story. And in 2010, I pioneered a new technology. I formed a company called Search Experiences. It was bootstrapped. I self-funded this myself. It was my third stint at running a startup that I'd founded myself. And I spent the first 2.5 years making preparations. You work within your means, and so I had to set up operational back office, move abroad, set up regional offices, train personally face-to-face without outsourcing, hiring of the designers and development team to build the technology. Because I had something when I was first in the market, and the concern when you've got a product that's new is, oh, what's going to happen as soon as you turn it on, the world knows about it, and you've only got a limited window of time before competition is going to come in. And as a first mover, you want that first mover advantage. You don't want to be the bottleneck, and when there is the demand coming in for your service, that you can't push it out in time and say, sorry, I've got a backlog, can you come back in 6 months? And they'll be, no, it'll go to X, Y, it'll go to your competitors. So it was mid-2012, I was ready to knock on the doors and speak to some early brands. I had a good demo, portal, beta, I had proof of concept, I had the data to back up the value proposition, and I went knocking on doors. But it was difficult because there was an educational component. If you come along and you're the 8th or 9th person doing the same thing, you've just tweaked it a little bit, then there's not much of an education because they're familiar with it. But what happens when they're not familiar with it? When you have to sit down face to face, walk them through that there's an educational component, it becomes quite challenging. So, and what was different is, and I briefly just explained earlier, those companies on that super graphic, they're more for small businesses. The price points for their products was more, under $100. They had a freemium model where you could try it, test before you buy. Where my product, it was a custom build per client. It was for medium to large size companies where there would be inadvertently an agency involved, multiple departments. It was quite complex. So, these are the challenges I found. There was multiple decision makers, there was an IT department, there was legal department, there was branding, there was marketing. And because it was a search service, it would be in the middle, there would either be a search company, a digital marketing business involved with the decision making. And an agency I found has different, they're driven by different motives. Because an agency is retained as a percentage of spend. So it's in the best interest of an agency to make sure the companies keep spending in search and not look at alternatives to save money and get more long-term ROI on the solution. And another issue is it can become political. When there's IT, they're loaded down and they don't want more work. So when marketing comes to IT and say, here's a nice technology I like, what do you think? IT is very reactive and rejective. They don't want more work. They're like, oh, this is going to give me more thing, another solution to maintain. So I was faced with this challenge. How could I stand out amidst the noise? The companies I was approaching, they're spammed every day by left, right and centre, many pictures from all those competitor brands. How can you break through? How can I stand out? And the idea hit me. Why don't I find a medium or a place to bring people to listen to my brand? And I thought of a conference. The people I was speaking to are digital marketers. They attend digital marketing conferences. So why don't I host and put on an event and bring these people to me? So I looked into it and looked at what was available, and it seems that to be successful for an event such as a conference, there's a few variables in the mix. It's about the content, the speaker lineup, obviously the price point, the location, and the venue. All these kind of different touch points impact that decision to, yes, I want to attend. I thought, yes, I could kind of rival, get a nice lineup of speakers, the content could be there, but I felt there was an opportunity to differentiate with location and venue. So, as an Aussie, I was thinking, well, where's a nice place? Where would I like to be if I was going to go on an event? I'm thinking beach, thinking paradise, thinking surf, and I thought of, well, Caribbean. This would be a cool idea. Where am I going to have a conference in the Caribbean? Looked deeper into it, and I saw these cruise lines out of South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and it looks like they have these conference centres on board. Why don't I put it on the cruise ship? That might be a nice venue. But I did jump in. But excuse me, Jacob, did someone bring in some pages in the back there? Thank you. Yeah. Just bear with me. Don't you love when your notes arrive after your presentation has already started? Fantastic. So first of all, I found out there was a cruise available with Carnival Cruise Lines, and it was, so the idea hit me September 2013. It was in December. I signed a contract with Carnival. It was a 3-night cruise going out to the Bahamas. It had a day at sea, so I thought we'd put the conference there, and visited Atlantis, and it straddled the weekend, so it'd be easier for people to come abroad to attend. But the reality was, 3 months later, I had 3 months to go. I'd been in planning 6 months at that stage, and the registrations weren't there. And my contract, I was locked up for 200 cabins. I was liable for $200,000 of financial downside risk had I not filled those cabins. And I was very confident build it and they would come. There was no conference on a cruise ship like this, and it's not your typical dull conference in your city, you know what I mean? This is a cruise around the Caribbean. Who wouldn't want to do this? But the reality was, I built it, and they didn't come. I didn't get the registrations. Because a lot of the people I was trying to bring to the conference were senior marketing professionals. They weren't solopreneurs, small business owners that could take the week off if they want. These are people working in a marketing department in a larger company, and to get approval from their superior to go on a cruise, that's a challenging one, isn't it? Even though the conference is on board. So I looked at my contract and I found it out. It made sense. Okay, I got to get out of this. I can't take this loss, take this hit, but I could take a limited hit. And so it's been 6 months of planning. Nice idea in theory. I could turn my back and go, well, that was a nice idea. You know, implementing is more challenging than I expected. Or I could reschedule. Now, you know, if you're quick to fail as an entrepreneur, you know, you might jump from one idea, doesn't work, you jump to the other. But if you're a stubborn entrepreneur, you just want to get it done. I'd spend that time, I want to get this conference happening. So I thought, well, okay, I've got to make some changes. I need a lot more time to prepare a conference. I'll push the year forward. My contract was Carnival, and at the time there were some issues, and I thought perhaps there was some stigma, it wasn't really exactly the right location. So I explored Royal Caribbean. They had a beautiful venue space here. I got a new contract, and I thought, if I'm going to spend another year planning these events, I want to have it in multiple locations. So a month from now, and as I explained last night, those that checked in, we're doing a second conference, and I'm very happy I've done that as well. So let's go back to this. That's my reason for putting on the conference. And now let's explain, well, what is this search experience all about? What is this technology? Why has this guy invested 5 years of his life, poured into his own startup, into this product. Well, I'll explain. Think about your behaviour. Think about search. What is the number one activity we all do every single day online without even thinking about it? Isn't it searching the web? Think about the search engine you use. There's obviously three main Goliaths that dominate the space. You've got Yahoo, you've got Microsoft with the Bing product, or you've got Google. How often do you use one of these? One of these is going to be your search engine, no doubt. How often do you use it? Once a week? Once a day? On average, we're spending about, well, for us, we're in tech, so it's automatic. It could be 30, 40, 50 times a day. We're not even thinking how many times we're doing it. Even if we have our own website, how often do we visit our own website versus how often we use a search engine? Even between visiting our own website, we've used a search engine hundreds of times. So I was looking for how to innovate search without going head to head against the Goliaths. What are the opportunities? What are they doing successfully? What aren't they doing? So my two main observations I saw. The first observation is search is a content-controlled environment. Content-controlled environment. What does this mean? It means in a powerful search engine there's different categories. We do web search, we do images search, we search video, we search map. I'm in the Bing experience. What do I get for images? Bing images. What do I get for video? Bing video, Bing web results, Bing, 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 Bing. They're controlling the results, they're giving their own results for these categories, the likes of Yahoo and Google as well. But think about it, in the Valley, different companies lead in different search categories for content. When we think of shopping sites, if I want to search for shopping, what do we think about? We think Amazon, we think of eBay. When I want to look up for a reference, like an encyclopedia, we think of Wikipedia. If I'm going to think of video results, I think of YouTube. I don't think of Bing video search when I think of video results. Other players are in the space. So that's the first opportunity, or observation. So what's the opportunity then? If that's the observation, and this ties back to Web 3.0, when we're supposed to customize, when we're supposed to be in control of the data and how we choose to access it. Why don't we have a search platform where I get to customize the providers that I want? I might like Bing results, so I can set my web results to Bing results, but I love Google Maps. So I'll set my own Maps results to Google Maps. But then again, I love using, for classifieds, Craigslist, so I want Craigslist powering my classified results. That would be interesting, a search engine that I power, I customize. The second opportunity is the experience itself. The current search engines, they're mass market. They're going after everybody to use. And as such, and think of the experience, those search result page, the home page you get, it's very generic. It's bland, it's impersonal. Some search engines might change the home page logo or to line up with a certain date, to commemorate the 150th birthday of someone, whoever we don't even care about. It's very difficult to unify the world when no one has common interests. We have different beliefs, traditions, and backgrounds. So that was an opportunity there. The opportunity is, why could my experience be tailored to my own personal interest? If here's a mundane activity I do every single day, why can't it be combined with something that I am personally interested about? We have a choice with every other daily activity we do, what we wear, what we watch, what we listen to. This is a daily activity we do search. Why can't we choose the kind of experience we want? So that's what search, to tie it in, that's what search experiences is. It's creating a search engine which is themed around our personal interest, with the results aggregating our trusted providers to our own preferences. So what is the search experiences effect? If this is your website on the side here, let's just think about how traffic currently comes. It's either directly or indirectly. Directly, they type your website, Nike.com. They put the domain in the browser and go directly to your site. But the main way traffic comes in is they go to Google and type Nike and click on the first result and then visit your site after first using a search engine. If if your brand was theming the search engine that they were using, it wouldn't matter what they're searching for, you're theming every page. So now I'll just explain it, or let's look at a branded search engine. How's it different to the ones we're used to? And I'll just briefly go through the features. So a branded search engine is not an app. You don't have to download it. It's just a website. It's responsive to work on any screen. The background is changed to be themed for the brand. You have the regular search bar in the center, and then underneath that is a dynamic content area. I don't know what your favourite sports team is, or if you love sports at all, but if you do love your team, imagine this could be the dynamic content for the latest news, when's the next game on, which as a fan that would be of interest to you. Not for everyone else that wasn't a fan of that team, but for those in that city that love that team, that season ticket holders, they would love this. In this example, I'm using a beverage brand. I'm not sure how thirsty we are this early in the morning, but I thought Heineken was a good choice last night. So on the search result page, after we search, just going back, the search bar, you'll notice it's got Google on the side of the search bar. This is a drop-down menu, so I can change it to my own provider. I'm a Yahoo user, I'll change it to Yahoo Web Results. And you switch it that way, and once you make your choice, you don't have to set it again. It just remembers next time through cookies or session that that's what you want. The search result page looks a little bit interesting. We have the regular search results, but what's different is normally at the top of results and down the side, I like to refer to it as spam. I mean, it's kind of like unsolicited advertising. The organic results is always going to be more relevant than someone paying the premium to get in the way of your search results with the paid ads. And the paid ads on the side, you're probably just ignoring it anyway. But those paid ads represent 99% of the search revenue of paid ads, because a certain percent will click on those ads. But in this experience, there's no paid ads have been taken out and replaced with a dynamic content bar. This can be used in many different ways. If this was a charity, for instance, if this was a Greenpeace themed search experience, or if it was for United Way, you could use this for donations, the local events that might be interested to those users. If it was a brand, they would just use it for their house ads, their own communications, integrating their tweets and their Facebook feed and so forth. You can activate search in different ways. Think about how you activate a search engine. You might just type into your browser bar. You might use a browser toolbar. You might have had this installed. I know we probably don't use toolbars, they clutter your browser, but if I went and looked at your mum and dad's computer and looked at their browser, they've pre-installed and opted into installing all these things on their browser, and it's up there. So we provide the website, the toolbars, and a web search widget. So just to show one example how branded search could be used. What's the first activity before visiting any website? Before visiting your website, which website did you go to before? It's a strange question. Or what about after you finish your time at any website, where do you go to next? It's a search engine. We start off search engine to website, then after we go back to the search engine and search to our website. Zigzag, zigzag, in and out of the search engine to our chosen website. If we install a web search bar into the site we're in, a percentage of users after they leave will just use that search bar that's already in the same page they're in. And so what this means is when they leave, they can activate your branded search engine. So this is very good for extending extended brand engagement. You can extend the time they're engaging your brand. If you're paying in paid search, if you're a bank for a financial search query, and they're only going to jump on your site for 30 seconds, do a couple of page views, then exit because they're going to do a credit card query and search for your competitors, and you've paid a few dollars to get them there in the first place, don't you want to hang on to them a little bit longer? So that's how it could be very useful if you have a brand where no one's going to use a Bank of America search engine. I'm not going to stop using Google and start using that. But as a customer, once a month I'll log into my account, and once I click the exit button, I'm going to jump off the site. So that's where we can embed the branded search bar. So that's just a brief overview that I want to share with you. I could talk a lot about it, but if I look ahead, every company now these days, a few years ago no one knew about Twitter. Now everybody has to have a Twitter account. 5 or 6 years ago no one knew what the value of having a Facebook page is, but everybody has to have it. Why can't everybody have a little slice of the number one activity every one of their customers does? Search itself. And so I see a future where brands such as restaurants, when you access the free Wi-Fi, you're in McDonald's or Starbucks and you activate the McSearch or the Starbucks experience, or you're at the airport terminal, you've got an hour killing time, you access the free Wi-Fi, and you didn't even know they had a search engine, but there's this terminal search experience where you go to your hotel and you check in, and again, you activate this experience without even being aware of it. Or maybe you just love your team. You're a Yankees fan, you're following Twitter, one day you see check out Yankees search, and straight away there's a million people going, oh my god, man, have you seen that? There's a lot of opportunity in paid search, and in branded search. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I'll hand over to Jeff.